everyone and welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Live. The spring festivals are just around the corner and behind me is a yard that sent out 72 winners at the Cheltenham Festival. Yes, Nicky Henderson's 7 Barrows and the team is as strong as ever. Here's what's coming up.
It's extraordinary for a horse that's been seen so little. He hasn't really started yet. So to get to his sort of elevated position is sort of surprising, yes. I mean, obviously, he's caught everybody's imagination because of the way he does it.
The fact that you guys are here wanting to film us shows that we've obviously got a few nicer horses, a lot of nice youngsters, a lot of horses who have progressed up the handicap, and a few old stalwarts as well.
You enjoy training a decent horse, you know, and I don't mind whether it's a hurdle, a chaser or a flat horse. I'm really looking forward to getting the flat horses back in and get stuck in again. But then I get to the autumn and I can't wait to go jumping again and see my mates.
If you're a racing fan or predominantly a fan of the jumps game, you'll be very familiar with the prowess of 7 Barrows in sending out Cheltenham Festival winners. 72 in total for master trainer Nicky Henderson, and he's looking to add to the tally, and he's got a few pretty good chances to do it. Nicky, Constitution Hill this season, as you've said in the past, has been flawless up until this point. He's done everything that you've asked of him and some.
He makes it look very simple. He can make the running, he doesn't have to make the running, he switches off, he jumps, he travels, and then he's got a gear, and it's a pretty good one too. But as I say, I think his greatest asset is just his brain, that he's so level-headed. You can do anything with him, you can put him anywhere, he can do anything, and it doesn't worry him. You know, nothing phases him. He's not going to, he probably will, having said all this, but I mean, he doesn't boil over or let the atmosphere get to him, you know, and he gets a bit of, you know, it's rather like the Sprinter and Altior days when the crowd were sort of on top of them. And, you know, they knew what was going on, but this fella just doesn't seem to bother about it at all. He doesn't care.
You're well accustomed to horses of this nature that people get very, very excited about. They ache to see them on the racecourse. Is there something just a little bit more heightened with him, perhaps, though, than say, the superstars that you've had in recent years? There just seems to be something slightly elevated with him.
Well, I suppose it's funny because he's only had 5 races in his life. So it's extraordinary for a horse that's been seen so little. And that's not by intention, it's just that he's just a young horse, he's only in his, you know, he hasn't really started yet. So to get to his sort of elevated position at this young age is sort of surprising, yes. I mean, obviously he's caught everybody's imagination because of the way he does it. And even to be coming into a champion hurdle with only 5 runs under his belt, but he doesn't seem to need any, I mean, he's not lacking in experience, he knows what he's doing.
The mares in this yard have always had a special place in your heart. This era are no different in Maurice Rock and Epatante, who I'm guessing, all being well, will be heading to the mares race?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it is possible. There's Theatre Glory as well, could, if it was very good ground, come into the mares. She was very impressive at Warwick, and you'd have to say if she would come in there as well. She does need supplementing, as does Epatante, but that's not a problem. Epatante's still in the champion hurdle. She'll run in one or the other. We haven't decided yet, so it's no certainty. Maurice Rock, well, she won the mares last year. It's equally possible that she would then move up to the stayers. I mean, not really moving over for anybody, but the stayers looks of it's relatively wide open. There's no banker in there at the moment anyway. So it is possible she'd move up. We haven't decided yet. We can shuffle the pack around as we, you know, the ground might come into it. The Honeysuckle's going to go for the mares. You know, she's a previous dual champion hurdle winner. Well, and so's Epatante. So there are a lot of good girls around.
There certainly are. In the case of Maurice Rock, she was consistently underestimated last year. You can understand why maybe going into the mares, then over at Punchestown, going off at 10-1 and doing what she's done. She probably won't be underestimated now after what she did in the Railkeel.
No, the Welkia was funny. We couldn't. I just had nowhere to go before that. There wasn't a race for her. I mean, Tom Palin, who manages Midland Park, we were looking for a race for her way back in November. And there was nowhere to run her until finally we said, well, we're just going to have to wait till New Year's Day. But she was very good that day. So, she doesn't need another run. She's I don't say she's a light-framed horse, but she gets herself fit. She does plenty at home.
Is there a noticeable difference between her this time last season? She feels like she's on a real crest of a wave.
I think she is, yes. I mean, I think she proved at Cheltenham the other day that she's every bit as good as, if not better than last year. I mean, I don't say I was surprised last year, but the year before she couldn't win an argument with anything. I'd lost her completely. And that could never explain why. And then just slightly upping her in trip, the whole thing changed, and she was a new girl, and she's been fantastic ever since.
What's the last 18 months been like when it comes to Epatante?
Well, she had a wonderful year last year because she won 3 Grade 1s and was second in a champion hurdle, which was a great year. She had already won a champion hurdle, but she was brilliant, and we upped her to 2.5 at Aintree, and she was very, very good. This year she's come back. Well, we said we'd have exactly the same plan as last year, which was the Fighting Fifth and the Christmas hurdle. But unfortunately, the ground at Ascot was too quick, and I had to move Constitution Hill from the Ascot hurdle to the Fighting Fifth, which unfortunately went and knocked out Epatante. And then naturally he had to go on to the International. But instead had to therefore switch to the Christmas hurdle, so they met again. You got the same result. It was only just nice that there was a lovely race for Epatante the other day, Grade 2, and she won very, very easily. It was just lovely to see her being able to come back and win like that. Actually, all it did do is prove what Constitution Hill was beating, that she could annihilate that field, but put Constitution Hill in, and she can't beat him, and that's that.
When it comes to Luccia, I can't remember the last time a Nicky Henderson first-time out hurdler was in a listed event. Why the unusual planning for her?
Well, it was just the timing was right. There was a mare's listed race at Newbury. She'd won a listed bumper. And she was good, and I mean, it just seemed sensible to go to Newbury, and yeah, it's not a Henderson-like step that it probably wasn't the greatest listed race in the world anyway, but she won it very well, and it was impressive. And of course, then you'd rather set the bar rather too high, so you felt like dropping back and going for a mare's novice hurdle, but she had a bit of a dirty scope for a while, and we couldn't do anything with her, and the obvious race was to go to Exeter, which was a much more competitive race. And I mean, they looked like decent horses. And I thought she was very, very good, yeah.
What's she been like from the very beginning here? She's been flawless up until now in her races. What's she like temperament-wise?
Temperament-wise, she's great. She had a horrendous incident last year, which, I mean, she was lucky not to lose her. But it's been a remarkable recovery. I mean, saving her was one thing, whether she'd ever race again was going to be another, but it doesn't seem to have affected her at all. So, she's here, she's great, she does everything you ask of her, and she works well, she jumps well. I mean, she's obviously very talented, and it's lovely. She's a homebred Paul Sandy I've trained for years, and I trained the dam. So, we've had the whole family, of which she is obviously quite a lot the best so far. But she's been a great breed. She was a good race mare herself, but she's been a great broodmare now.
After Warwick, you were quite philosophical in Jonbon's victory, that you were taking the positives. Any change in that over 24 48 hours?
No, I definitely do. Yeah. I think looking back on it, possibly we were all panicking a little bit and saying, grief, what happened? All that happened was that he sort of just dropped his guard for a moment. He was just enjoying himself and in a nice rhythm. And Harry Skelton suddenly just came and swooped on him like a sort of buzzard and just went bang past him, and it was like he just didn't realise what had happened. And okay, he had to just pull himself together and get on with it. And that's the first time he's had to do it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. He had a very good blow after it, actually. He probably wasn't just as straight as I thought he was. I wasn't being complacent about the whole thing, but you know, he will come on a lot for the experience and the run. I'm taking positives out of it. I think it's done in the world of good.
We saw him there just with the shots that we were getting before this interview as well, and you lifted the rug up and were essentially intimating that there's plenty more to come and he can be a fitter type as well.
Yeah, he's got work to do. I mean, they've all got work to do. They have to continue working.
Final question, the next month, in one word, how would you describe it?
Hell.
Thank you very much. And 36 miles up the road, Charlie Longsdon is looking to cap an already stellar season with a first festival success as Tom Bull picks up the story.
It's been a really encouraging season so far. Plenty of winners and plenty of classy prospects to go to war with as well. It must be a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, look, it is a very exciting time. It's just nice to have the fact that you guys are here wanting to film us shows that we've obviously got a few nicer horses, a lot of nice youngsters, a lot of horses who have progressed up the handicap, and a few old stalwarts as well, which I've always think they're slightly punching above their weight. So look, it's fantastic. It's great to have you here to talk about them.
We're going to talk about Rare Edition first, if we may. A horse who actually I was really taken with looking around earlier on, more so his demeanour than anything, because he's so calm and relaxed.
He was quite a loose cannon this time last year when we got him, and it took us a lot of calming down. And to be fair, Brad's done a very, very good job. He rides him every day, done all the hard work, but he has changed his whole demeanour. He's far more relaxed than what he does now, and he's been great to train. It's just, and again, it's great having a horse that's with a few potentially exciting targets.
And that's that old cliche that, you know, whatever he does over hurdles is a bonus. With him, that does appear to be the case, because he has got a fine frame for chasing potentially next year.
Yeah, touching wood, chasing is the name of the game for him. He jumps with a chaser's technique rather than a hurdler's technique, and that will be, whether it's next season or the season after. I'm not going to rush him straight to go over fences. Let's see where we are, see what our level is this season before we make any plans. But if he's not quite top draw, well then we probably will go chasing. If he is very near the top draw, well then we might keep the hurdles a bit longer. But you know, it's a fantastic problem to worry about further on down the line.
You've got a lovely mixture of horses here at the moment, the likes of Rare Edition, the youngsters with potential, alongside the older horses who have proven and been there and done it, like Snow Leopardess, a wonderful mare of the last few seasons for you, and she's taking in a slightly new discipline this season. Yeah,
look, she has been our flagship horse for the last few years. Every yard needs a flagship horse, and she has been that. And the amount of publicity she got for the Grand National, her efforts running up to the Grand National last year was fantastic and great for the yard. It puts her in a very tough position, being a mid-140s horse. And she's older. She's an 11-year-old now. No matter where she goes, she's going to have a tough time. And I thought if we can just try and slow the races down a bit, which is tough in all these top-class handicaps, she'd have a chance. So therefore, 3.5 plus miles. And the cross-country race sprung to mind. Yes, the owner, Mrs. Fox Pitts, they all thought that this could be a discipline. Being a Fox Pit horse, been very well schooled all its life. In an ideal world, she'll go around the cross country race at Cheltenham Festival. Yes.
One we saw earlier on, who I was quite taken because she's so diminutive and so small, is Glimpse of Gala. But she's certainly tough as teak, isn't she?
Hard as nails, she is. As I said, you said earlier on, God, I can't believe how small she is, and she is very small, And her last win at Warwick, the horse looming upsides her was Ashtown Lad, which was a fine, big, strapping horse with her little diminutive figure. But she loves it. She's tough. She's born and bred here at Hull Farm. Our landlords have a fantastic line of 3 generations of the family, and they've all been tough horses, and she's certainly no different. If you asked me this time last year, I'd have said never go on soft ground, but her best form this season has gone on soft ground. She's just obviously grown to love it, and she's often the first off the bridle, but she'll keep on pulling it out. And don't get me wrong, the combination with Bradley Roberts has been very good with her. He gets on extremely well with her. They've bonded. It's like the Lily with Tea for Free. They've all got on. They've seemed to have struck up a good partnership with their horses. But again, she's qualified for the Pertemps final. She will go there. It'll be a dream for my landlords, the tweed-clad fossils, as they're called, to go and have a run at the festival.
Yeah, absolutely. Room for improvement too with Paramount, who surely is pretty nicely handicapped at the moment because he's a horse with a huge amount of potential, I would say. Not necessarily always puts it in towards the end of his races, but that can come with time.
Yeah, he's well handicapped. There's no doubt he is well handicapped, but he's not straightforward. I say the EBF final might be the main plan. As you say, I think he's potentially well handicapped. I think he needs the better ground. I think the step up and trip will do him no harm. And yeah, spring ground will help him. So hopefully, middle of March, Sandown might be to his liking. So that'll probably be the long-term target with him.
Let's talk about your jockey team, which is really burgeoning at the moment. A cracking kind of group of very talented riders, headed by Paul O'Brien, who's been, I know, an integral part of your team for a long time now. And it was a bit of a feather in the cap, wasn't it, recently, being given the number one job, really, for Harry Derham? Yeah,
but Paul's been a top man for us for half a dozen years now. He puts in hours and hours of work, and it's tough for some of these lads who, for no wrong, right, or any reason, not the most fashionable riders in the world, and it makes it tougher for them. But Paul has got so much ability. Again, he's a real horseman. He schools them beautifully. He's been the biggest reason why our horses are generally would have jumped so well over the last half dozen years. And it's great that he's getting more recognition now. I mean, Nicky Henderson's put him on a few horses as well. And Harry Durham he's the next young kid coming through, and if Paul can strike up a good relationship with him, that's fantastic for him. But he's been a massive part of our team for a very long time, and I'd love to give him more winners.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come from him as well, as for Bradley Roberts.
Brad came to us, he joined us probably in about January last year. He'd had, I think, half a dozen winners on the flat, hadn't had a winner over jumps, but the first thing that you notice again, they all jump for him. Schooling wise, he's very quiet, rides on a nice quiet long rein, and they all jump. He's done a lot of the schooling with Rare Edition, and other horses like Castle Robin, who'll be good old stalwarts for the team. Sits very quiet, and again they go for him. When the horse runs for a jockey, well, you put them on.
You've had some very loyal owners over the years, and you can completely understand why when you come to a yard like this one, because it's so embracing and so warm. One of those has been JP McManus, and you've got a horse with him at the moment called Guet-Apens Calange, who is a stayer going places quickly. I thought there was a big run from him in the Classic Chase at Warwick.
That was a massive step up in class. I know he went off favourites, but I was delighted, and he only came fourth, you could say, but I thought I was over the moon with the run. The improvement this season with his jumping, I certainly think there are decent races to be had with him in the future. I'm hoping one day he might turn into like a Midlands national horse, or even a Welsh national horse in time. They all those proper staying races on sliced slow ground.
More immediately, of course, you have got these contenders at the Cheltenham Festival. How special would it be to get that winner at Cheltenham?
It's this time of year that question always comes round. I very much believe it's not the be-all and end-all. Yes, of course you want winners at Cheltenham Festival. That's just, in my mind, the festival is the Olympics for us, and Aintree is sort of the big party afterwards. Of course you want those winners at Cheltenham, but it's not. I'm not gonna hold everything out for that. What will be will be. You've got a bit of realism to the whole thing as well. But I do think we got. If I remember last year, I think I had one or two runners there. This year, we could have a few interesting horses, Pertemps-wise.
But the horses doing there with real chances.
Yeah, no, interesting cross-country race. They're just horses that we certainly, not 25, 33 to 1 shots. They're horses that could be 10, between 10 to 1 shots, which will be fantastic, very exciting. Which is very exciting. Whether they win or not, whether they're good enough or not, it's a different matter. But no, it's not the be-all and end-all. Hopefully we can continue to have a really good rest of the season, and if we can try and pick up a couple of decent ones on the way, we'd be delighted.
Over the course of the series of This Racing Life, we've been up and down the country visiting trainers looking for their first Cheltenham Festival success. Well, Alan King has had 16 of them. The 16th gained last year when Edwardstone hacked up in the Arkle, and he remains one of the British bankers of the festival.
It's been a very difficult winter, national hunt season, because obviously the autumn we couldn't get going because it was so firm. Then we had almost too much rain, then we've had 2 freeze-ups, and now we're back to fast ground again. So but look, they've run well. I think we're operating about 18-19%, which is pretty good. I think the novice hurdlers are probably fairly ordinary at the moment, but I think the bumper horses are good, so you hope that there's a few talented ones coming through, you know, and that's probably the most enjoyable part of the job is working the unraced horses, and you just keep hoping you unearth one, you know.
You're going to strike gold.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Do you think your experience in the game lends yourself to be more adaptable, because it's an ever-changing position being a racehorse trainer? If you don't change, you're left behind.
Yeah, I think I'm certainly a more patient trainer than I used to be. We're probably not quite as hard on the horses as it was, you know, the old days. We used to do 3 up the hill work mornings. I only do 2 now, but hopefully they last a bit longer, you know. And old Suroil and Messar, you know, and Rainbow Dreamer on the flat, you know, they're 10-year-olds and they're still retaining a very high level. So I think, you know, we may be minding them a little bit more than I perhaps did at one stage.
I had a good start to the season in September, October, and the horse have, you know, hit the ground running the start of this year in January and continued into Feb. So, I'm where I want to be. I think I got to 50 quicker than I did last year. So, if I can just keep momentum up to the end of the season, then I'll be a happy man. And
it was off the back of your best ever season in terms of numerical and in terms of prize money. Did you go in with a concerted effort to really keep that momentum going?
Yeah, it's all about momentum in this game, isn't it? As long as I could stay injury free and keep getting the rides, because, you know, without rides you're not going to have any winners. So yeah, as long as I was just getting the rides and trying to keep momentum up, then I just hoped that the winners would come. And, you know, I'm fortunate enough to ride some good yards now, and they have winners, and luckily I've been on a few of them, so it's worked out very well. And so hopefully we can have a good clean run to the end of the season.
And I think it's fair to say, without Edwardstone, that money total would be a little bit lower. I mean, he must be the apple of your eye at this stage.
Yeah, he's great. You know, I've always been associated with him since he ran over hurdles. He was fantastic last year. You know, he danced every dance. You know, I struck up a really good relationship with him, and, you know, to turn up at, you know, Cheltenham and be favourite, and then to execute it and win was, you know, a real feather in my cap, and it was great for everyone involved. I mean, I know he means a hell of a lot to the owners, and he means a hell of a lot to me as well. You know, he sort of put me on the map a bit, and to be entrusted with him on the big days, and you know, hopefully there's a few more to come.
It's been a whirlwind season already for Edwardstone this year, and that's even before we've got to the festival. How is he after his setback?
Oh, he's fine. I mean, you saw him do 2 canters this morning, and look, normally you wouldn't say anything, but I just felt that, you know, he had been lame for the best part of that week, and because he's one of the favourites for the Queen Murray, I thought I might as well just let people know that we have had a little hold up, but look, there's still 4 weeks to go, so he seems in very good order. But it's not been an easy season with him, you know. I had said really all year that I would start him in the Schlur and then go head to the Tingle Creek, and of course we couldn't run him at Cheltenham, so Tingle Creek was a tremendous performance, but then Kempton was a blip. So and he's a horse that thrives, gets better with practice, you know. He's a horse that improves for racing, so it's not been the easiest year, but anyway, we'll see how we go.
What were your general confidence going into the Tingle Creek? As you say, he does better with his racing. Were you expecting him both to be that price and, well, then that performance?
I sort of, you know, Nicky was very kind that we took him to 7 Barrows, and he did a lovely bit of work there, but to be honest, if he'd finished 3rd or 4th, I'd probably been perfectly satisfied with it. But to win in the style he did, it did surprise me a bit, pleasantly.
Do you think he's been able to learn in defeat this season as well, take things from his defeats and his blips that maybe will stand him in good stead going forward?
Well, I don't know if he'll stand him in good stead, but he's a pretty, you know, he's had a lot of match practice. He had 2 seasons handicap hurdling, and look, I would have preferred to have another race under his belt going into Cheltenham, but it just hasn't been possible, so we'll see.
You're no stranger to success in this division with a leading light, the likes of a Voipa or Stedes. Are there any comparisons, or are they totally different?
They'd be totally different, I would have said. I mean, Voipa wasn't the quickest, but he's probably one of the toughest horses I've ever trained. I think Edwardstone's probably got a little bit more class about him. But I mean, again, Voipa thrived in his racing, you know, and he loved a fight. But I'm lucky going back to days with the Duke, you know, the old Viking Flagship and Waterloo Boy. There were horses that improved from. I'm a great believer in match practice with anything, anyway. I mean, I like to run them when we can, you know.
Ambitious campaigning is something I would associate with your style of training. Is there any scope to be looking at anything different with him, or is it straight and narrow?
Well, I mean, he gets 2.5, there's no doubt. I mean, he ran very well over hurdles, 2.5, but I think when you're doing it pretty well at 2, you stick to that. I mean, I suppose there's a possibility if he came out of Cheltenham all right that we could, if we're going to step him up, it would be round Aintree. But at the moment, I'm only focusing on the Champion Chase, and we'll see how that goes and then take it from there.
And you said after the Clarence House heat was probably the freshness that ultimately got the better of him on that occasion. We're expecting to see a not totally different horse, but just a fitter, more match-practiced horse.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was surprised he got beat. After the last, when he jumped the last and went sort of half a length up, I thought he'd go away and win 1.5 lengths too. And obviously Gary's horse was very tough, but he was so lame on the Sunday morning. I do wonder if he was actually feeling something at the end of the race, because he usually hits the line hard, and he didn't that particular day. So I don't know, maybe he was feeling something that we hadn't realised, but as I said, he was very sore Sunday, and he threw probably till Friday, Saturday before we got him sort of back sound. So, but look, we can get plenty of work into him. I don't envisage I'll take him away, but you never know. I might. Nicky might not be so accommodating this time, but we might just take him in a lorry and take him over somewhere to have a little change of scene.
Of the rest of the team, you mentioned it's depleted. Who else might be on the team sheet?
That's a good question. I mean, the bumper horse, Favourite and Fortune, who won at Warwick, he will certainly have an entry there. I've been spoken to Mick on Saturday night, Mick Meagher, and look, it would either be there or Aintree for him. So we'll see, but I'm not ruling him out of the Cheltenham bumper. We haven't really done the handicap entries yet. I don't think I've got very much. And the Triumph horses, I mean, they just haven't got going this year. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 entered, and 2 of them still haven't seen the racecourse yet. So
just on that bumper horse, Favourite and Fortune, I thought there was so much to like about the way he won at Warwick. He's definitely not the finished article on what we've seen. He kind of looks an archetypal Trevor Hemmings type.
Yeah, I mean, he won very well at Southwell, and we gave him plenty of time to get over that. You know, he's quite light framed at the moment, so had a good break for a month or so, and then we built him back up. So, you know, I think it was a good performance with the penalty, and it looked a stronger race than probably he'd won at Southwell. So, look, he's a horse we're looking forward to in the future. Let's hope he's lucky, because he could go a long way.
What drives you at this stage of your career? Dual purpose. You get maybe a week or 2 off in January, you allow yourself, but the rest of it, you'll go all the way through the year. Why?
Well, I've got to. Financially, I need to keep going. And that was the main reason we went down the dual purpose route. I mean, Barbury's a wonderful place to train, but it's bloody expensive. And I can't afford to have that standing empty through the summer months. You know, we don't traditionally have very many for the summer jumping. I'm not a fan of that at all. So that's really how the flat came on, and I must admit I'm really looking forward to getting the flat horses back in and get stuck in again. But then I get to the autumn and I can't wait to go jumping again and see my mates. So you enjoy training a decent horse, you know, and I don't mind whether it's a hurdle, a chaser, or a flat horse really. And you know, we got an awful lot of buzz out when Asymmetric won the Richmond, you know, a 6 furlong group race. I mean, I enjoyed that.
Do you have an archetypal Alan King horse?
They've got to be correct. Confirmation. Mm-hmm. I hate offsets and Bromley. I mean, Anthony and I would buy all the breeze ups and the stores, and he knows exactly the type of horse I like. And I haven't bought so many flashy chestnuts recently, so I might have to go back and see if I can find another Valdez or 2. You know, I used to love them, but we seem to have bought a lot of bays recently. There we are.
Alan, it is always a pleasure to come back down here, and thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure, thank you.
So that's it for the latest edition of This Racing Live. Thank you very much to Nicky Henderson, Alan King and Charlie Longsdon for opening their doors to us this week. We will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.